In Ohio, George Voinovich decided to hang him up after a distinguished career as governor and then United States Senator. We always know Ohio is going to be a tough race, but thank goodness we have a young, brilliant, articulate statesman like our friend Rob Portman step up, and he's going to run a very good race. He's already off to a great start. The Democrats so far, it look like they're going to have a real bloodletting in the primary with Secretary of State Jennifer Brunner and Lieutenant Governor Lee Fisher. In Missouri, also always a bellwether state, a tough state, Kit Bond is hanging him up after, I think he said 40 years in elective office, the youngest governor in Missouri, and now as a distinguished United States Senator. Congressman Roy Blunt has already announced his candidacy, and former Treasurer Sarah Steelman may announce her candidacy as well as in the Republican primary. Kansas, where Sam Brownback is stepping down to run for governor, I was pretty concerned because we had two great congressmen, Jerry Moran and Todd Tiahrt, announce their candidacy there. It's a late primary, and if they had a bloody primary, it could well pave the way for Governor Sebelius should she decide to run, stepping in and taking that seat in Kansas. Here in Florida, of course, Jeb Bush was early on considering running for the Senate. I flew down in December to talk to Jeb. He was very seriously considering the run. He would have been a fantastic candidate, but for family considerations, decided not to run. I would say the leading candidate at this point is if Governor Christ decides to run, which he is contemplating, he would be our strongest candidate. He'll decide after the legislative session in Tallahassee after that concludes. But if Governor Christ doesn't run, we have some very strong other candidates, former Speaker of the Florida House, Mario Rubio, and Congressman Vern Buchanan, and Congressman Connie Mack may do so as well. Connecticut, can you imagine Republicans would be competitive in Connecticut for the U.S. Senate race? Well, thanks to Chris Dodd's travails and his bad poll numbers, the fact that Chris, who I personally like a lot, but Chris just seems to have lost touch with his constituents. He actually moved his family to Iowa when he announced that he was running for president, and that doesn't send a good, warm, fuzzy message to your constituents to move out of state and declare yourself a resident of another state. I think we have a shot there. Congressman Rob Simmons has announced in that race, could well see former Ambassador Tom Foley also get in that Republican primary race. We'll wait and see how that happens, but could well be a good opportunity for us. And finally, let me just mention, and you'd be disappointed if I didn't mention Nevada. Well, Harry Reid's numbers are pretty bad in Nevada, and if we can get a first-rate candidate in 2010 to run in Nevada as a Republican, we could well have a repeat of 2004. Where we were successful in knocking off Tom Daschle with an outstanding candidate like John Thune. So these are tough times, as you've heard from Sam and David and others. I mean, I know the economy is not doing well. A lot of people just don't have the net worth and the cash that they've had in the past. But I would humbly submit to you that now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. I'm not, and my colleagues are not, and I know you're not. And it's absolutely critical to the future of our country, to our ability to withstand international threats like Iran, that we get back in the game. And that means we simply win elections, that we recruit candidates that fit their states, we make sure that they are well-funded, well-prepared to run good races, and that as far as the NRSC is concerned, that we raise the money to be able to help them by supplementing their efforts with independent expenditures. I'll close with one last example on why that's so important. In 2008, Gordon Smith, our good friend and one of our best colleagues, did a fantastic job, like Norm did in Minnesota, but he raised $11 million in Oregon. His opponent raised $6 million in Oregon. But because the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee raised $154 million last cycle to $91 million for the NRSC, and we were playing defense because we had a tough recruiting year, they pummeled Gordon Smith like they did Norm in Minnesota, but virtually erasing his financial fundraising advantage. And of course, in a perfect storm of low approval ratings for President Bush and just a dismal year where people really wanted change, although they didn't contemplate the kind of change they were going to get, we lost that seat in Oregon. But that's why we need to have an active and robust National Republican Senatorial Committee to recruit good candidates and help them by supplementing their efforts and making sure that we re-elect a Republican majority in the U.S. Senate as soon as we possibly can. And we've got to start in 2010.